Hi guys, if you are seeing this, it is most certainly because you are already the holder of a Wine Girl NFT. The Wine Girl NFT is a very exciting collaboration that I'm doing with Club dVIN. It's going to come with all kinds of really, really cool benefits. And the first one being that you actually get 50% off on a Club dVIN membership. So what is Club dVIN? I am here today with thought leader David Garrett, who is actually the co-founder of Club dVIN, and he is going to be answering all kinds of your questions about what an NFT is, what makes Club dVIN different from other wine clubs, and what the connection is between a consumable product like wine and blockchain and NFTs. So without further ado, Dave, go for it and introduce yourself.
Thanks, Jana. And super excited to be talking to the Wine Girl followers. I know we've been working with you for a long time. Really enjoyed everything that we've done with you, and we're super excited to be bringing some of the Wine Girl followers into Club dVIN, into our little community. So give you a quick background. So I've been in the wine business for 20 years. Mostly on the producer side. I'm a partner in a project in Argentina, another project here in the Priorat in Spain, and also most recently have been doing a bunch of wine media. So I'm executive producer of a television show that's coming out next year with Carmelo Anthony, profiling winemakers from around the world. He's a NBA star, but also a huge wine collector. And then also the authorized documentary on Robert Parker. And that's really how we got started with NFTs. As part of the Robert Parker project, there was an ask to start attaching NFTs to those bottles as a certificate of authenticity. And so I reached out to who is now my co-founder, but at the time was my neighbor, to talk about NFTs and blockchain and why we would want to attach blockchain or attach NFTs or use the blockchain for authentication in wine. And he was the perfect person to talk to because he had just finished a project attaching NFTs to diamonds. So he was with Boston Consulting Group, and his team built out this really, really interesting project called Tracer, which attaches NFTs to every diamond in the world. So it was originally done with De Beers, but now is just part of the entire supply chain for diamonds. So if you've purchased a diamond in the last 6 years, since 2017, that diamond has an NFT attached, and that NFT shows where that diamond is, all of the certificate of authenticity. So it can trace that diamond all the way back to where it was mined. And the reason for that was because of the whole blood diamond issues, where people were counterfeiting diamonds or saying the diamonds came from different places. Well, this really solved that problem. So every diamond now, you can track it back to where it came from. You can see the chain of custody, so you can see exactly who has owned that diamond. So we wanted to take some of those same learnings and bring them to the wine industry, because as you know, or as you may have read or you may have seen if you watched Sour Grapes, or if you've read any of those articles, about 20% of wines in the collectible and investment grade space are counterfeit.
I thought it was even more. I thought it was like 20 to 50. It's so hard to know.
Maybe it's 25%. It's really a huge number, and it's a huge problem for the industry, right? Yeah. It's bad for the industry, it's bad for collectors, and it's horrible for winemakers. Winemakers kind of get a raw deal as it is, but when you're counterfeiting their wine, like, it's even worse for them. So this really started as a way to authenticate wine so that you knew where that bottle came from. That was the original idea behind the club, and what we've built on top of that technology is a way for our members to not only be the first to kind of experience that the technology to kind of get the NFT, the digital twin NFTs for the bottles, but also to do a lot of other things. The main pillars of the club are access, meaning, if you looked at our website and you've seen our founding members are the luminaries from the wine industry, right? We have a ton of masters of wine, master somms, rock star sommeliers. We've got importers and collectors from every corner of the world. And, you know, collectively, we kind of know everybody. And we have really the ability to get into, you know, wineries that have that are impossible to get into, or you know, wine lists or allocation lists that have 2-year wait lists, or you know, all of these impossible to get into wine and culinary experiences.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that we really want to offer to our club members, and we're already doing it. And I can talk about a few of those. The second thing is rare wine drops. So as we start bringing this technology to wineries, and we work with a bunch of, again, investment grade and collectible wineries that you've heard of. As we start bringing our technology to them, the programs that we're doing will be attaching digital corks to some of their rare wines from their libraries. And those offerings will be made exclusively to our members. And so as we start bringing these wineries onto the blockchain and putting their wines on the blockchain, we're going to get great offers directly from the winery to our members, which is pretty cool. So the ability to like really glow up your wine cellar with some wines direct from some of the you know, most exclusive wineries in the world.
Yes.
And then the third thing is events and experiences. And if you've been following Jana, you've seen that she's been trotting around the world, going to Club dVIN events everywhere from, you know, Austin to New York to we have an upcoming event in Berlin. We did an event for M Premier in Bordeaux, Boston,
Paris a few times. Been all over
yeah,
the place.
London. We went to London for a really cool event.
Yes,
So we've
so
got events in Singapore next week. So we do really cool rare wine tasting events, and then we do our big global events. And the big one that we've talked about a bunch is next year. One of our founding members is the wine director for the Bhutan Wine Company, and they planted the first vine 6 years ago. And they're harvesting in next year. It's their very first harvest, and they've invited Club dVIN exclusively to come and help with the harvest experience and to you know, do the first crush. And we're really
excited. Himalayan harvest. Yeah.
So anyway, Club dVIN.
Okay, I'm going to stop you though, Dave, because I feel like for anybody watching this who still doesn't even know what an NFT is, well, you have one. You know, hopefully you've got the Wine Girl NFT by now. So congrats. Welcome to the club. What is an NFT, Dave? If you could just, because I feel like a lot of people, I put up some polls on Instagram over the last couple of weeks, and I feel like a lot of people have a really wrong understanding about what an NFT is. So everything you know about NFTs, consider it wrong. Dave, go ahead and define it. What is an NFT?
So yeah, a lot of people think, when they think NFT, they think, you know, the Bored Ape Yacht Club, or they think, you know, CryptoPunks or CryptoKitties, or like they think of weird. It's a weird, you know, JPEG, or what's the term? Overpriced. It's an overpriced JPEG, right? And certainly that's true. Certainly that's kind of where NFTs have gotten an earned reputation, right? It's a you know, an image that you can buy, and it's a way to you know, monetize digital art. That is, of course, one usage, but that's not really what we're doing. That's kind of speculative, and you know, investing in digital art, which is fun and interesting, and a lot of people do that, but that's not really what we do. What an NFT is, more than anything else, is it's a digital deed of ownership. So it's really similar to when you think of, and this was the best example that I think I've given, is when you buy a house or a piece of real estate, you'll go to, and this is everywhere in the world, you'll go to your local real estate office, and they've got a big book, and that book is a ledger. And when you buy a piece of real estate, what they do is they update that ledger, and they say, okay, this person, the old person, doesn't own it anymore, and now you own it. So they don't erase the old person and write in your name. They update the ledger with a new owner and a new transaction. And that's really all the blockchain is it takes that same concept that happens at your local real estate office, but puts it on the blockchain, and it's for all kinds of different assets. So in the case of Bored Apes, what it's saying is you are the owner, or you're now the owner of this particular image. You own the copyright for this image. And that's really interesting. For what we're doing, we have a bunch of different kinds of NFTs. And when you purchase, for example, a digital cork NFT, that means that you are the owner of that bottle of wine. You have the deed of ownership to that bottle of wine. And that's kind of what an NFT is. It's a deed of ownership. And what's neat about it is not only is it immutable. So, you know, in your local real estate office, like if the building burns down, then you lose all of the real estate records, right?
Right.
Well, on the blockchain, because it's on thousands of computers around the world, you know that it's forever, and that it's authentic, right? So that information is updated everywhere, and it's true. The other thing that's interesting about it is that you can see that it's completely transparent and open to the public. So you can see that chain of custody. Now, for people that are concerned about privacy, all they really see is the address, right? Your 26-digit wallet address. But it's a public record. So it's really, really very difficult to fake, or to have a counterfeit, or to have a fake bottle, because all of that information, all of that transparency makes it really, really difficult to and we can talk about that a little bit later, but really difficult to have a counterfeit bottle of wine.
So the idea then must be you source the wines direct from the producer or from a pristine cellar. Otherwise, how do we know that the wine that the NFT is attached to is authentic? Like,
exactly right. So yeah, that's for sure. Most of these bottles will come directly from the producer. So on that chain of custody, or on that ledger, you know, similar to the real estate ledger, the very top, you know, the certificate of authenticity, the top of that ledger says this bottle came directly from the winemaker.
right.
But there are some other options as well. So for example, with the project with Robert Parker, those bottles we say came directly from Robert Parker's cellar. So you as a consumer can say, I think I trust Robert Parker's cellar, so I know that those bottles came from there, it's authentic, and I'm going to trust that.
Right.
We also are doing a really cool project with Sotheby's in Q1 of next year, where Sotheby's is taking wines from cellars. Sotheby's will authenticate them. And then in the chain of custody, at the top, instead of saying this came directly from the winemaker, it will say this wine was authenticated by Sotheby's. So if you trust Sotheby's to authenticate it, then you can bear that in mind as you're purchasing the wine.
Right.
But the point is now is there's a chain of custody. So now you can see who authenticated that bottle, and who owned it, and where it lived, right? And why that's interesting is, you know, right now, if you were looking to purchase, for example, a bottle of 2001 Chateau Palmer, which is kind of interesting, because that's actually one of the wines that's going to be in a future drop that we do in I think about a month. But yeah, it's going to be very cool. But if you were to go and try to buy 2001 Chateau Palmer out there in the world, and you got it on Wine Searcher, you would see that there's, you know, a few dozen, maybe 100 bottles out there in the world available for purchase, and they all have about the same price. And the reason that they all have the same price is because nobody knows really where those bottles came from. But if those bottles each had a digital cork attached and an NFT attached, and you could say, okay, this bottle was sat in a bonded warehouse in Bordeaux for the last 20 years, and this other bottle had an owner in Singapore, and then an owner in Dubai, and then was traded to somebody in San Antonio, Texas, and now is sitting in New York, you're going to pay a lot more for that bottle that was sitting in a bonded warehouse than the bottle that's traveled all over the world.
Okay, wait, I have a question.
Yeah.
How do you prove that the wine hasn't moved? Like I could go into the bonded warehouse and take the wine and not say that I did that, right? Like,
You could of course do that, but then you wouldn't get the NFT, right? The
okay,
NFT only transfers with chain of custody, right? So
okay,
you could go get the bottle, but then if you wanted to sell the bottle, you wouldn't have the NFT, right?
okay,
You only get the NFT as that bottle changes custody.
right.
So that's the key. That's why it's valuable. And so the incentives are for people to trade the bottle and the NFT at the same time.
Okay. So huge disincentive for fraud, seals transparency into the purchasing process. Do you think that this is inevitable for the future of wine? Do you think that blockchain and NFTs will just become the norm in the industry like it did with diamonds?
So it certainly seems like it, right? Like everyone that we talk to, and we talk to a lot of people in the industry, certainly there are some people that are, there are early adopters that are already doing it. You've seen projects from Mondavi, you saw a project with Chateau Angelus, you've seen projects with, winemakers from all over the world that are experimenting with NFTs right now. Most people in the industry that you talk to, they're already putting unique identifiers on the bottles, at least in the collectible and investment grade space.
Mhm.
And an NFT is just a natural progression from that. And so, yes, I would say it's there's very little doubt that within the next 5 or 10 years there will be NFTs attached to, at least in the investment grade and collectible space, to those
Mhm.
bottles, because that's
Okay.
such a big disincentive against fraud.
This is interesting because I put up a poll a few days ago and it said many of the wine industry's thought leaders are saying that within 5 years, every bottle of fine wine will have an NFT attached to it. Do you agree? And it's interesting because we had 24% of my followers who participated in the poll said NFTs prove provenance and disincentivize fraud. So we had 60 votes that agree. 37%, 92 votes. I don't understand the connection between wine and NFTs. Fair. I hope you guys are
Sure.
watching and that this is clarifying that. And then we had 98 votes, 39%. NFTs don't belong in the world of fine wine. So also, if any of you who answered that are watching this, I really, really hope that this is clearing things up, because I do also believe that this is inevitable for the future of all industries.
If I'm going to address that for just a second, what I would
Yeah.
say is, you know, the all of the speculation around, JPEGs of monkeys has been really great, in that a lot of people learned about NFTs, right? A lot of people learned about them for the first time.
Yeah.
But it's been also kind of a drag on blockchain and NFTs, because it makes it seem like the only thing NFTs are for is for speculating on, digital art. And
Yeah.
that's really not true at all. There are so many more. I mean, if you think about the number of NFTs that exist in the world, I mean, just think about just in diamonds, right? Most people don't have any idea that when they bought the diamond that there was an NFT attached.
Right.
And the truth is, that'll probably be true for wine as well.
Yeah.
Lots of consumers won't even know that there's an NFT attached to that bottle,
Yeah.
but there will be, because that will have tracked that wine through the supply chain from the winemaker. They might, as a consumer, not want to interact with it. They may or they may not. We hope that they will, because
Yeah.
we want to provide lots of incentives for people to interact with those NFTs, to let us know when they own the bottle, to let us know when they've opened it, to let us know when they're tasting that wine. But a lot of people may not ever interact, and they might not even know. I mean, how many of those people that said NFTs don't belong in fine wine have bought a diamond in the last couple of years and have no idea that there's an NFT
Yeah.
attached?
And that's kind of, I think, one of the beautiful things about Club dVIN, because I can remember when I was starting to get to know the project, something that came up all the time was like, how easy is it really going to be to get like the traditional wine world to kind of like integrate that into this whole, again, revolution, let's say.
Right.
Something that we were saying a lot when we were explaining the project to people at events was like, you are a wine enthusiast, so just be a wine enthusiast. You don't have to be blockchain savvy or at all tech savvy. Like you can be, and that's awesome. And I think this is something that's going to get a lot more normal for people as time goes on anyway. But like, to be a member of Club dVIN, you don't need to know anything about blockchain. You don't have to interact with the technology as an enabler. So I think that's something.
Well, all the people that, you know, have the wine girl NFT, like those, hopefully a lot of those people, it's their first NFT. And they
Yeah.
probably didn't know that it was so easy to create a wallet, so easy to get an NFT. And now, you know, they own a piece of the blockchain.
Yeah.
And that's really, you know, that's the first step. But I would say of all of the members that we have, 70% of the members that we've brought into Club dVIN, it's their first NFT. They've never had a wallet, never owned an NFT. This is their first one.
The wine natives. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, cool. Okay. So I had a couple other interesting and speculative comments come through on Instagram.
Sure.
Greater than the sum of its parts says, and we're not going to sugarcoat this at all because I find it fascinating and I just think we need to address this. So greater than the sum of its parts says, I am writing to ask you to stop getting involved in the Ponzi scheme that is NFTs. I feel like we may have already addressed this.
Look, lots of them are, and it's true, lots of them are, but it's like saying, you know, there are also a ton of exercise programs that are Ponzi schemes, right? And it's unfortunate that some people like find the new thing and try to scam people with it.
Yeah.
That happens everywhere, right? That doesn't mean that you shouldn't exercise. Doesn't mean that there aren't lots and lots of legitimate, amazing ways to exercise. And I think what'll happen is, you know, a lot of those the Ponzi schemers are going to get flushed out. You know, the truth is, because of the security of the blockchain and because of the transparency, they get flushed out pretty quick.
Yeah.
The you know, these the projects that hang out for a long time are the ones that are doing more kind of legitimate and authentic work.
All right, makes sense. Okay, so I have another comment here. Actually, I have a comment and a question from one of my followers at Chancend51. First of all, looking back to the stats where I was asking questions, he says he thinks that the stats speak for themselves. Most people don't believe in NFTs. I feel like we've covered this. And then he asks, why pay for tasting notes when Decanter has an excellent database? This is a little bit confusing because we actually, nobody pays for tasting notes. So Dave, I'll let you just maybe explain
Sure.
what this is all about.
No, it's no problem. So, so two things. First, I would say, you know, this is a very, very new thing, right? Blockchain is really new. Certainly blockchain for wine is new. Certainly NFT clubs are new. You know, this is a year or two old. For a lot of people, this isn't going to be this is probably not right for most people, right? This is really for early adopters. It's for people who are looking for the new thing. It's for, you know, the person at the table who's going to introduce a new wine from a new winemaker that like no one has ever heard of, but they think is amazing. Like those are really the people that are going to enjoy this because it's new. They're introducing new fun things.
Yeah. And actually a lot of my followers, I put up questions like this too. I put up one question that was like, are you the one to introduce new wines to your friends? And what did we get? 86%, 219 votes say, yep, that's me. So this is for you guys. And sorry, Dave, now let's get back to the tasting.
No,
notes.
it's fine. Like this is like, you know, this is like the internet in 1992. And it might take a lot longer for this to happen. It might happen very quickly. It might take a lot longer. You know, I don't know. But what I'm 100% sure of is that what we're doing now are going to be the building blocks for the future. This is, as we say all the time, you know, the wine industry has worked the same way for 1,000 years. And what we're building is the framework for the next 1,000 years. And it really is like the tools that we're building today that really is the future of how we think that how the operating system for wine is what we call it.
Yeah. This is so
So
exciting. Guys.
yeah, it's super exciting. So one thing, we don't offer tasting notes. In fact, we actually work with people like Jane Anson, for example. She's one of our partners. We don't compete with wine journalists or people that do tasting notes. That's not really what we do. The reason that you would join is really simple. There's a couple of things. One is, to have access to this new stuff, right? New digital corks, new tasting tokens, be the first to, like, not only be able to collect them yourselves, but be able to give them to your friends. Like,
Yeah.
I think that one of the most satisfying things that I do and you do at events around the world is when we give people their first tasting tokens. Like, that's pretty cool, right? You're
Yeah.
getting an NFT. It's an authentic proof of experience. I tasted this wine on this day with this person.
And they're beautiful. They're so cool.
And they're beautiful. Yeah. So, like, that's really cool. But then also all of the incentives and rewards that come along with it. We talk all the time about, like, collect 5 tasting tokens from Chateau Lafite and get and earn, like, a spot at a wine dinner. Or if you collect 10 tasting tokens, get invited to the winery for a vertical tasting. I mean, I don't know all of the different rewards and status that's going to come with collecting tasting tokens. A lot of times the analogy that we make is like airline miles.
Mhm.
Like, you collect airline miles because you get cool status and rewards that you can't buy with money, right?
Status.
And that's really that's kind of what tasting tokens and digital corks are, right? They're like authentic proof of experience. So it's a way to build community and to build ties with the winemaker.
Mhm.
So we think that that's all really interesting and exciting. But it's also an equity membership, right? Like, so that membership, if you join Club dVIN and decide that it's something that you want to do for the rest of your life and pass along to the next generation, that's great, and that's what we hope everybody does. But if you join Club dVIN and you decide 6 months later this isn't really for me, you can sell your membership to somebody else. So it's again, it's a way for early adopters to get in. It's a way for people that are interested in kind of exploring and participating in the future of wine. That's really the reason to join. Again, it's not for everybody. It's really for the early adopters.
Yeah. You don't want to miss out on this, guys. Like, this is the same feeling. Those who missed out on Bitcoin, this is like the beginnings of the future of
The
wine.
beginning.
I'm very
That's
passionate
right.
about it. Anyway, okay, but so back to the tasting notes thing, because I feel like maybe what some people are getting confused is that a tasting token, as you were just saying, a tasting token is not just tasting notes. It's a commemorative
Right.
NFT. It's like it shows you basically the journey of the wine from grape to glass, and there's all kinds of incentives built in for the holder, but also for the winemaker. So that's a whole other thing.
So let me just walk you through it really quickly.
Yeah.
So, bottle of wine comes out of the winery and has typically an NFC sticker or a QR code attached, and that's what attaches to the NFT,
And it's
right?
tamper-proof.
So yeah. So it's all tamper-proof, waterproof. Like, you can't peel it off, you can't stick it in another bottle. Like, that's what connects it to the NFT.
Yeah.
So, that will that digital cork or the digital twin NFT, that does a bunch of different things, right? That's the deed of ownership, that's the certificate of authenticity, that's the chain of custody that follows that bottle everywhere it goes. It's the royalty. So one thing we never even talked about, but like every time that these collectible bottles get traded in the aftermarket, a little piece goes back to the winemaker, which is amazing. That's one of the reasons that they want to participate in the program, but also it lets them participate in the value that they create in the aftermarket for the first time ever, which is really cool. But then when you open the bottle, that's the cool part, right? So you open the bottle, now this bottle's been opened. And what you do is you can mark and you can say, it's super simple on your phone, it's the tap of the phone. And you can say, now this bottle has been opened. And so, we burn that NFT, or we update the ledger and say this bottle's been open, it's no longer authentic, it's no longer good. But then the owner, you get to make new NFTs, which we call tasting tokens, for all the people that you're tasting that wine with. So this is part of the sharing. This is part of the generosity part of Club dVIN, right? You're giving these tasting tokens to the people that you're sitting around the table with. And it takes 2 seconds. We do it. We've done it at events all over the world. But getting those NFTs, that is your authentic proof of experience. It's an indelible, immutable proof that you tasted that wine on that day with that person.
Yeah,
and that's interesting for you.
So it's like you'll never forget what you drank.
That's right. So you get to collect them, which is really cool. But you also get to use those collections with us. Like we have really cool experiences and offers and rewards and status that we give to people that collect lots of tasting tokens. But also the winery, right? The winery, you can go to the winery and say, I have these 5 tasting tokens. I tasted these different vintages of Chateau Lafite, and Chateau Lafite can say, wow, I know that this is true. I know that it's authentic. And because you're such a good customer, I want to offer you rewards. I want to offer you Grand Cru status. So when you come to the winery, you go in through the back door and we do a special barrel tasting for you. Like those are the kinds of things that people who collect tasting tokens are going to get. And, people talk about speculation and they talk about NFTs of Bored Apes. One really crucial thing to remember about tasting tokens, they're not speculative. You can't sell them. You can't trade them. They're non-transferable. Once you collect the tasting token, it is yours forever. You can't sell it. But more like an
NFT, if a soulbound token. If any
soulbound token.
Geeking out with us.
That's right. Yeah. But the point of that is now the winemaker knows. The winemaker knows that you've tasted that wine. The winemaker knows that if you collect those tasting tokens, that you're like a super fan. And the more of a super fan you are, the more rewards that the winery wants to offer you.
And as a consumer, I definitely want the winemaker to know that I'm a super fan, like 100%.
Sure.
Yeah. So
that's exactly right. So that's the key to it. And so it's not really about tasting notes. It's much more about collecting this proof of experience
and sharing experiences in an elevated way.
Yeah. Sharing with your friends.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So I have a question from actually a friend of mine, Alexandre Salmon. He is an amazing champagne producer, and also a pretty good pétanque player. Alex, if you're watching this, one day I will win a game of pétanque against you. So Alex asks, is it you who has a warehouse to keep the wines, or do the wineries store them?
So wineries store them for sure. A lot of the wineries that we work with will store the wines for customers. But then we also work with a bunch of different bonded warehouses that are third parties. So we have a bonded warehouse in Bordeaux that's a third party that we work with. That's where all of the champagne that we that is coming for wine.girl collaboration members. All of that champagne is going to go into a bonded warehouse in Bordeaux and be stored there until you're ready to have it shipped. We also work with a bonded warehouse in Napa that stores the wine, and again, it's the same thing. It's stored there until you're ready to have it shipped. And we're working with a bunch of others. We've got feelers out to a bonded warehouse in Tuscany, one in Monaco, one in Hong Kong, a bunch of different ones. So the idea is that you can have your wine stored wherever you want. If you want it stored close to you, great. If you want it stored close to the winery, great. And all of those movements are tracked on the blockchain.
Okay. So just to break this down and simplify it. So basically then, any bottle of wine that's purchased through the dVIN platform, or the grower champagne that we're giving away for everybody who buys a dVIN membership with the wine.girl NFT, basically you are the owner of the physical bottles of wine. And if you do decide that you want to consume the bottles of wine, That is your right. You own the wine. So then you just have to let us know that you want to drink the wine and have it shipped to you. Otherwise, it sits in a bonded warehouse and the chain of custody stays perfectly intact and your NFT stays intact and you can trade it on a secondary market. So you can treat it as an investment or you can drink the wine, right?
Exactly right. So
Cool.
yeah, by default, any wine that you purchase on the platform just goes into storage in your name. And by the way, every bottle that's purchased on the platform gets a year of storage for free at whatever bonded warehouse you use. Those are the deals that we're doing with the bonded warehouses.
Nice.
For the champagne for the Wine Girl, it's 2 years. So we're going to give you 2 years of storage for free.
Yay. Awesome. Okay. This is very, very cool. Very exciting. Also, it solves a lot of problems for people like me. I live in an apartment in Germany. We don't have air conditioning. My basement is like way too warm to store wine. So I do
Sure.
store some of my wine at my husband's work because they've got a cool basement. But like, if I want to buy investment grade wines, because I do collect wine, like I don't want to have to deal with thinking about, oh my God, now it's going to be like at this temperature and it's fluctuating, and like this solves all that for me. So yeah, my investment is safe.
But you still get the NFT
Yeah,
that serves as like your proof of ownership, your deed
totally.
of ownership. Yeah.
Totally. Okay. Amazing. Let me just see if we have answered all of the questions from my followers. I think we have. All right. So then let's just one more thing, because Club dVIN, we've already covered like a lot of the benefits of being a member of Club dVIN. And a lot of it is about experience. So we've got, as Dave said, we have the great benefits that come with investing in wine and having that chain of custody and transparency. But when we go back to experiences, what kind of new experiences can Web3 actually bring to wine? What do you think, Dave?
Well, look, I think that there's a lot that Web3 has to bring to wine. You've got the ability to be able to commemorate your experiences with NFTs with these proof of experience.
Yep.
But also the ability to identify the true fans. We talk a lot about our core values are curiosity and generosity and inclusivity. So a lot of what we're doing with Club dVIN is figuring out ways for people to earn their way into the platform instead of just everybody buying their way in. What's
Right.
happened in the wine industry in the last 10 years is it's really become a lot about exclusivity. It's
Mhm.
become a lot about snobbery, and it's become a lot about it's just become very speculative, right? People, the prices of investment grade wine is shot through the roof, and that's not really the winemaker, right? Those are the speculators. Those are the middlemen, and not that there isn't a wonderful place for a lot of middlemen, a lot of importers, a lot of distributors. People in the middle of the wine business are friends of mine and will have a place in the business forever. But I think figuring out a way for winemakers to really be able to identify their true fans and their consumers
Mhm.
rather than the speculators, and being able to offer experiences and be able to put their wine in the hands of their most enthusiastic fans.
Mhm.
That to me is super important. And that's really what Web3 does, right? It puts the winemaker in touch with the consumer at the moment of consumption.
Mhm.
And so because you're sort of, instead of, most of the middlemen in wine, what they do is they sort of keep the consumer and the winemaker apart,
Yeah.
because that's where they make all their money, right? And what this does is it helps bring them together. And so, instead of it just being always the people with the biggest checkbooks, they
Mhm.
get access to the best wines in the world. Now, I think it really opens it up to provide access to, the most enthusiastic
Yeah.
followers, the most enthusiastic fans. And I think that's what's most exciting to me.
Yeah, that's so cool. All right. Very good. And then last thing, utility NFT. What does that mean?
So there's, there's really two different kinds of, well, there's probably a bunch of different kinds of NFTs, but when I say utility NFT, that is, in contrast to a speculative NFT, right? A
Mhm.
speculative NFT is kind of like a Bored Ape, or a Fidenza, or one of those, high-end art NFTs.
Right.
And those you're purchasing because you think they're going to go up in value at some point,
Mhm.
right? A utility NFT is different. A utility NFT says, okay, if you own this NFT, then you get this utility. So, for example, a concert ticket is like a utility NFT. If you buy a concert ticket, then that concert ticket gives you the right to enter that concert, right? But
Okay.
what it could also do is, like, as you collect those kinds of NFTs, maybe they'll also give you access to music, or access to a Zoom event with the band members.
So
Like,
your
it
Club dVIN membership NFT is a
yeah,
utility NFT because it gives you access
a
to
100%.
events.
Access to events, access to wine drops, access to content, access to our community. Yeah, I mean, that's really what it is. Your NFT is like, it's like a ticket.
Yeah.
It's a ticket to be an insider everywhere in the wine world, and that's really what it is. So it's not something, if don't think that you're going to buy your Club dVIN membership and it's going to be worth $1 million in 2 years. That's not really what it's about. Your Club dVIN membership is a utility that provides access to all of the great benefits that we offer our membership. So it's kind of like a membership card,
Cool. Okay.
but it is transferable. You can sell it to someone else,
Yeah.
but it's more of a membership card. It's a utility rather than a speculative asset.
Okay. And also one of the other cool utilities that comes with a dVIN membership that we haven't talked about yet is the concierge service. That is
Oh
so
yeah.
cool for the global insiders. There's two different kinds of memberships that you can buy with Club dVIN. We have Genesis and Global Insider. Global Insider also comes with a 24/7 concierge service, which you can also buy as a Genesis member. It's like a upgrade. But this is very cool. We basically have like our web of founding members who are like thought leaders and masters of wine. And, as Dave was saying earlier, these people are all offering their knowledge and their wisdom. So if you are going to Italy and you say, okay, I'm going to be in Piedmont on this day, and I don't know what restaurant to go to, I don't know what to order, you just write to the concierge service and we will answer you in
Very fast.
big time.
They're really great. Yeah,
They're
yeah,
great.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's also a really, really cool utility that comes with a membership. But okay, good. Then I think we can wrap this up. Hey, Dave.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you so
So
much for your time, and we're really looking forward to welcoming some Wine Girl followers into the Club dVIN community. So we're really excited about it.
yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much, Dave. This has been awesome. And I really encourage you guys to check out clubdvin.com if you have any more questions, or just write to me. You can send me a direct message. You can write to Club dVIN. So we're going to put all the information that you need here. And then, yeah, we really, really look forward to welcoming you into the club. I am a founding member. And yeah, future of wine, guys, be an early adopter. Cheers.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Jana. Thanks, Jana. Bye bye.